Roger that, rolling in.
See if you can get eyes on it. Okay, red light. That should be the red light. Jimmy, got anything?
Where the hell are you at now?
I'm right behind you, base.
Now, roger that.
We go into the Urban Dictionary for this. Pipe hitter. Someone or a group of people who are willing to go to the extreme in order to get things accomplished. So I've said a few times when we're on this podcast, I've said at least once, that one of the things I'd have liked to been able to do is bring back a group of dudes. So I've done like 17 courses, and with that, I reckon probably 200 guys and girls through the course, and you know, some are still in the industry, some are not. But I would have really liked to bring back a group and just say 10 people that were that definition. And there wasn't one on every course, but there was a few would come through every year, and you know, guys that would make phenomenal instructors. And I've said this, they didn't make the best skydivers, or they weren't going to be world champion skydivers. Some of them, yeah, but you know, that wasn't the criteria. And I think a lot of people get that mistaken with a lot of things, is you don't need to be the best at something, but what you've got to be able to do in a certain environment, and especially when I'm looking at coaching and when I'm looking at leadership and when I'm looking at instruction, is you've got to be able to impart that information and allow people to follow you. Because I've worked for a lot of people I've worked for people that make people follow them, and as soon as there's a chance to not, they won't. And you've seen that so many times in business, Dan. So the beauty of retiring from skydiving is I've been able to stay connected with the majority of those guys. You know, the majority of people that I would have brought back to the course and put them through instructor training and give them every bit of information that I had. I've been able to stay in contact because there was a true friendship that we'd get in the 7 months that we spent together. Then, you know, it was a really, really good time. So it is an absolute pleasure today to have one of them on the podcast. The guy that we've referenced on the podcast before with a question sent in. My brother, Harrison. How you going, bro?
Good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Great to have you here. And timing's everything. This is a great opportunity because you're in between trips to the States at the minute.
Yep.
So just give us a little bit of background. I'll kind of hit this. You were on April 2018.
Yes. Yep.
There were 4 courses run every year: January, April, July, and October. You were on the April 2018, and give us a little bit of background. Maybe you know what you were doing before you came on the course, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Yeah, for sure. So prior to the course, man, I was studying at university. I was probably like halfway through a degree. I was doing sport and exercise science. So always been, in the sport kind of field, loving cricket and kind of that sort of jam. But
which is what we kind of connected with at the start.
Yeah. When I first,
I remember your interview.
Legit, we didn't talk anything about skydiving. We just talked about cricket the whole time. But yeah, man, I just wasn't enjoying that degree. Wasn't liking where it was going.
From what perspective? Was it the degree itself, or was it? Because you know, I wasn't cut out for school too much, or cut out for the education system. I started in the gyms really early. But was it the environment, or was it the actual topic?
Honestly, it was both, man. It wasn't just the topic. I actually enjoyed the topic, so it was more the structure of school and just the blatant, this doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. I don't know what kind of job I'm getting out of this. I don't want to be stuck in something. It could have been anything, dude. It was so broad. And I just, didn't know where it was going.
And you were how old at that point?
19.
And then how did you hear about, like, can you skydive as a job? Is that a real thing?
Yeah,
how did you hear about it?
Yeah, that was I remember that day like it was yesterday, to be honest, man. I had done a tandem at Skydive Auckland for my birthday probably 2 years prior. And even then, I remember asking the bro that took me on a skydive, how many jumps he did a year or whatever, because realizing that this is this dude's full-time job, it's all he does. But yeah, man, I got an email through doing a tandem there, and showed my mom, there's a course for this. You can have this as your job. You can do this. I'm like, I want to do this so badly. This was midway through this degree.
I'm going to hit you with this now, because this is what I'd ask. I do this a lot. I remember speaking to your parents. What was mum's take on it straight away?
Absolutely not. Yeah, she's like, at least she wanted me to think about it a lot. She wanted me to finish the degree, like kind of secure something, like have something set in stone that I could fall back on or whatever. But she was pretty hesitant. Not gonna lie.
I've had some guys in the past where their mums have cut them off, like refused. They've not spoke to them since they come on it. They completely cut them off.
Yeah.
I had one guy who he told his mum that he was doing a business school, and he came up. He was doing the school, and he went, but she was in Wellington, and he went back down to Wellington for holidays. She found out that he was on the course, and she pulled the plug, and he went. He was Ethiopian. She was going to send him straight back to Ethiopia. It was crazy. Her mum was out the gate, crazy.
That's next level. No, my parents have always been really supportive of whatever I want to do, and they after that tandem, man, they knew I loved it, bro. They didn't. So yeah.
I can imagine Dad would be on board with it.
Yeah, big time, bro.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
I mean, he was always the one who basically taught me cricket throughout my whole life and stuff. The sporting side of it, he's big into that.
So what was the timeline between you finding out about the course, signing up and starting?
I want to say 6 to 8 months.
All right, because that's a quick turnover. That's a quick turnover, yeah. And obviously you went through the interview process. That's where we'd met, and then this is what I kind of want to touch on with this today. What was that first? Let's just say that first couple of weeks like. What was checking in like, and from where you were, what you were doing, your background in terms of right. This is what school's like.
Yeah.
This is what this school's like. You want to hit that?
Wow, it was intense, man. Absolutely intense. I remember the first couple of days just doing kind of what we were gonna go over, man. It was intense, bro. Like I'm just like, wow, this is like the real deal. Like there's no messing around. There's no room for error. You just got to follow. We have a set of rules, man. And if you don't follow them, then you're not on board, and you're a liability to everyone else. And you were kind of really setting the picture of like this is going to affect other people, and it's not just about you anymore. It's not.
Yeah, well, that was a big thing that I was always trying to get across to people, and we we do that now with CrossFit, and I do that with the kids and everything. But obviously with skydiving, it's black and white. But and people always think when they come in, oh, you just tell these guys what to do and they'll do it, and it's just now from being in that, it's the absolute opposite to that. It's the absolute opposite.
For sure.
And there was always trying to be like a level of intensity set within that first week or two, because there had to be doubt. We had to try and ingrain some doubt in people so that we could overcome that. But intensity wise at that first week, and the culture shock of this is how I thought this thing would go. This is how just want to touch on that in terms of like what you thought was going to happen to what actually happened.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be all fun and games, man. Like we're just gonna, I don't even know, just straight up walk into it and just be like, yep, here we are, we're jumping. And yeah, that was not the case at all. It was intense. I
mean, we'd have these jokes constantly, and I'd hit you guys with these in the first week. But this whole idea of it's the most hated word. I hate this word, but this whole extreme. Yeah. And when guys would check in, and they had this picture in their head of what they were trying to fulfill, of this, I'm going to say another one, adrenaline junkie. I hate that. I hate that term so badly.
To be fair, though, when I think of skydivers, I think of extreme adrenaline junkies.
And that's the classic thing. That's the classic thing that people think straight up is just, and they think they're signing up for that, and it's the absolute opposite in terms of what I was teaching and what I was trying to get these guys through. And I think we'll get into this later. It fulfills the stereotype in terms of what you saw later in your career, but I think we'll kind of touch on that later. But just getting into that, I really want to explore the training side of things. I was trying to create with you guys, and trying to evolve it as with the next group and next group and next group. I was trying to create a chaotic environment for you guys in the first week or two, where I was trying to put so much doubt in your head to teach you to back yourself. Yeah. And we couldn't replicate the environment until you were up there. We couldn't. It is exactly what it is, but you can't touch on it. And what I was trying to do was put you guys in environments and situations as close as possible to that would do the same thing. And it was this whole idea of trying to inoculate you against the stress that you're going to find up there, so that when you were up there, you had the freedom to actually express yourself. And there was some, we went through some pretty I'm gonna use the words extreme measures. You know, we went through some pretty different ways of doing things.
Oh yeah.
How was that harness training?
Wow. So I've actually never seen another AFF program run this, and I'm shocked that they don't. But that was incredible, man. That's the perfect way to set it up for what it is. It is that intense. We basically got hung up in this harness with all the bros, everyone at the drop zone, like sitting in beanbags, throwing popcorn at us, laughing at us while we're...
As a guy coming in, and that was normally about day 7, day 8.
Yeah.
What did that feel like?
It felt like you were nothing, man. Like you were useless. You knew nothing about anything, and the amount of stress going through your head, man, was
And
next
what
level.
did that do to your ability to perform?
Wow. Crushed it, man. Crushed it.
And this was the thing. This is where sometimes like the steps we were taking. I explained it to you guys at the start, and you remember me doing that. As I said, like, you think this is going to go a certain way. It's not going to go that way. You're going to come out here, and all I'm going to do is make you go down a rabbit hole. Yeah. And I'm going to say this and this and this and this and this. And literally all you need to do is block it out and, like we'd say in the game, pull the right, pull the left, do so in about 7 seconds. That's going to work. On paper, so easy.
Oh my
We'd tell you everything that was going to happen, but people still went down those rabbit holes. People still went in that deep dive of the crazy things they would do when they get exposed to stress. And from the outside, this is why when we did that training, it would have to be locked off to the public because there was no need to do it. I've said this before, there was absolutely no need to do it, but there was every need to do it. It looked like, when you were doing it, it looked like you were just ripping it out of people.
Yeah, deer in headlights, man, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it literally just looked like you were just taking a mick out of people and having a laugh and doing whatever. A lot of people didn't get the methodology behind it. What we were trying to do was create so much doubt, so much pressure, so much stress on these individuals that were up in this harness, make them completely exposed, but not let them down until they got through it. And that was the key thing, is we're just going to take you to a point now where you want to get out, you can't get out, so I know what the outcome's going to be, and then feed you the little steps to help you get through. And then when you get down out of that, you watch the next guy get up.
Yeah.
Wow, how enlightening is that?
Yeah, because when you're actually in that situation in real life, man, you're spinning under a violently spinning main parachute. Like, you're in that situation, dude. You're just in it, and you have to deal with it.
To date, how many reserve rides have you had?
3.
Right.
Yeah.
And was the training beneficial for that?
Oh my God, bro. I'm so grateful for that. Hey, like legit. Just the ability in that situation to block out what's actually happening. And what's actually happening is you feeling blood rushing out of your head. Everything's spinning. You can't actually see where anything's at. And you just have to make a decision. And you have to stick with that decision as well. Like, once that decision's made, you got to execute. That's it.
And, the whole idea of backing yourself, people will go out, and we use this phrase all the time, but people will go out hoping that we're going to do this amazing thing. And, it's not a tactic, and you can't use it as one.
What's the scariest situation you've been in?
Scariest. Wow. Okay. I had one pretty early days when I moved to Vegas. I had pretty low jump numbers at this point, and some cowboy ass adrenaline junkie dude, he joked about in the plane that he was going to do a flyby. He was in a wingsuit, which is immediate red flag for me, but he joked about how he was going to like fly by me as I was under parachute.
I remember you sending me the video of this.
Yeah. And he basically, like, he was joking about it. I'm like, yeah, bro, okay, whatever. And I'm under parachute at 1,000 feet. I'm in the pattern, bro. I'm about to land, basically. And I'm practicing some turns or whatever. I finish this turn, and he just buzzes by me, bro. At like, I could spit on him, bro. Like, he was 15 feet away from me. And, dude, I was just in complete shock. Like,
Traveling at speeds, like...
Oh, if we collided, bro, we would both be ripped in half.
Vaporized.
Yeah, like 100%.
That's unsurvivable speeds.
Oh, completely.
Because you got your forward speed under a canopy, you got his speed basically in lower trajectory free fall. He's macking 200k plus.
Yeah. When I'd seen his video afterwards and how he had to dive and approach me, and then I turned and he changed course of action, bro. So close. Like, the room for error in that is so marginal. It's unbelievable.
So when you're going through training, and you're going through that first sort of 4, 6, 8 week phase, what are the things that you're going through aside from the harness training that's going to prepare you to cope with something like that in the moment?
Well, there was another one comes to mind, and that was I don't know what you called it, the tangle test?
Yeah.
It was basically like, he'd make us go for this huge run, and we get our heart rate all up, so we're all jacked up. And we have this, and as we're running, he's got this parachute laid out that we have to pack, right? We have to pack in a set amount of time, and he's just destroyed it. It's as messed up as a parachute could ever be. Like, there's 12 to 13 things wrong with it. And yeah, we gotta sort that thing out in time. And it's stressful, man, because you don't want to miss anything. You're incredibly tunneled on just making sure you get everything right. And we'd go through this whole thing and finish it up, and then it didn't even stop there. I remember when we finished, he would just be like, "So what did you do wrong?" And then the doubt that comes creeping in your mind, just like, far out. What did I do wrong? I must have missed something. There has to be something that I missed. And I'm like, was it this? And it's like, I don't know. What'd you do wrong? And just over and over and over again. Yeah, that was stressful.
Yeah, so with the packing test, there was two ways to look at this. It would have been really easy to farm that out and have someone teach you guys to pack. And this is what a lot of people didn't understand is I wasn't teaching you guys to pack parachutes so you could pack parachutes. You're going to learn to pack parachutes anyway. You're in a skydiving school. You're living and breathing it 24 hours a day for 6 months. You're going to learn that, no factor. You could literally teach an idiotic child to pack a parachute in 6 minutes, no factor at all. It wasn't that. We weren't trying to achieve that. What we were trying to achieve was it was just an easy way to trap you into rabbit holes, which you're going to do when you're up there. Once you engage that doubt, you start to go down this direction instead of, right, what is the situation? What is it that I need to do? Execute on that thing. And I'd have these really, really simple ways of doing things. And silence was about the best. I'd kind of figured out after a little bit where they'd pack the parachute and then I'd open it. And I'd open it real slow and I'd just give them a bit of eye contact and then carry on opening it. And I'd leave it. And the silence, I'd figured out, right, as the bigger the silence, the more they are likely to just give stuff up. They're just going to start talking and saying, I did this wrong and I did this wrong. And I'd kind of get these. It was pretty good. I got it originally off MasterChef where, you know, when they taste the food and then they look at the person and then look back at the food and give that kind of like, if you're watching on YouTube, they give that like. Yeah. So I'd pull something out and I'd do that face. And then I'd have some other guys come from the senior course and I'd have it all staged where I'd just call one of them over and say, you see what he's done? You see what this guy's done here like that? And I'd be holding this thing up and the guy in the senior course would just be agreeing. And I'd be saying, did you get it when you started? He's like, nah. I said, no one gets it. No one gets it at all. And then I'd be like, right, tell me. Give me the reason why you're going to have to do this again. Yep. If you can tell me why you're going to have to do this again, you do not have to do it again.
Yep.
And everyone ended up doing it again. All I wanted was someone to say, there's no issue with it. And stand on that and stand on that thing. And all I was doing was giving them a little bit of doubt and making that doubt just go multiply.
Yep. I think I watched someone complete this test perfectly 4 times. And they did it perfectly every time, man. Like, it was actually, it was legit. And yeah, that self-doubt just made them make up a different reason every time why it wasn't working. But it was fine.
And all this gets explained. And then that's what we're trying to combat is that doubt, because that's what gets people when they're in the air. That when they've got, you know, when they have no time. Well, they do have time, but what they don't have time is to procrastinate, and they don't have time to mess around, and they don't have time to indulge doubt. They have the time to do everything they want to do. You know, we say on that for skydivers, your drills, in a 45-second skydive, your drills take about 15 seconds. You're trying to fit 15 seconds work in a 45-second window, but most people make it look like they're trying to fit 45 seconds work into a 15-second window. Yep. And that's where the problem comes. Yep. That's what we're trying to achieve. So the whole idea behind this, and I don't know if you want to touch on anything like this, Dan, when it comes to the business world, but your training is going to reflect the performance of your team, or the performance of your team is going to reflect the training that they receive. And the more stressful you can make that training, but there has to be a purpose behind it. It's not just making, it's not just making training stressful for the sake of making it stressful, because then you get into a different realm. But if you can make it stressful with a purpose, explain that purpose to the person. And I would explain all this kind of stuff before. I'd explain that with a packing test and a tangle test to say to these guys, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm looking for. But the amount of doubt that it would creep in.
Yeah, but there's a difference though, because you know, most situations, unless you're a doctor, I can't think of many other professions where your training equals life or death for yourself or someone else.
Completely, but this is what I was saying with it. It always is. Skydiving was life 500x. So if you dial it back and you could say, right, what is the difference between you needing someone to turn it on in that split second and you have a guy on the calls who's dealing with a customer and you know that customer could go septic. You know that customer could just go absolutely heinous on him and start complaining, doing this. And if he says the right thing in that moment, it diffuses the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, and there's a lot of testing you can do, like, you know, when you're taking people through training for that sort of thing. But you know what you guys do is another level, right? And when you're taking these guys through, how long is the course?
The course was a 8-month course, so it was 5 months in house and then 3 months out into the field where they get to apply this stuff for real.
And how? Yeah, so you're 3 months of on ground training before you're even up in a plane.
No. So it would generally be 2 weeks. It would generally be 2 weeks of on the ground, super intensive. You know, learning as much as we possibly could, and then it'd go from there. And these guys did 200 jumps in that space of time.
And I think that's the beauty of you know what you guys have done, is that time together on the ground has to be that level of intensity, because when you get up in the air, you are physically jumping out of a plane. You could kill yourself, you could kill someone else, and if that hasn't been perfect, then you know you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror every night when you get home and say, did I do everything I could before I sent these guys up in a plane to jump out? Sure. You know, that they're not going to die or kill someone else on my watch. And that's another level, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've said about the burden that went with it, and the burden that I felt released when I kind of walked away from that was huge. Where you're constantly looking over your shoulder because someone's going to do something that they don't know they're going to do because they just don't have the experience. And to kind of touch on that, of why that first 2 weeks was so important, is I'd say if I was putting guys through instructor training and they were just working at a regular place that didn't do a school like this, and they were going to take a guy for a mid-level, early-stage skydive, and I'd say, right, you've just got this call from Manifest, this is the guy you're taking, you've looked at his logbook, you've had a word from another instructor, you walk into the aircraft, you literally met the guy 10 minutes ago, what do you ask him? And they would come back with, you know, how was your last level? Yeah. What did you do on this kind of stuff?
What does this hand signal mean? Yeah,
what does this hand signal mean? All that kind of stuff. They'd run through that, and I said, nah. I said, like, you need to ask that guy where you're from, what's your family like. You need to ask some questions to find out about that guy. The beauty I had is I had 2 weeks of asking that question, of seeing what these guys would do, what they were about, you know, what human needs did they value more than anything. And you know, when I say that the most dangerous people that I'd ever see come through that training were the people that were craving significance. You know, these were the dudes that were trying to reinforce that stereotype of extreme.
Harry, as a peer, was there anyone in your course or during the time that you thought this guy is actually like unsafe, either physically or mentally? Because it's one thing for Paul to give us, you know, his view as boss, but it's another thing to be actually like going through the course with these guys, your brothers by the end of it. But, you know, I can imagine, you know, if there's a guy who you've got a bad gut feeling about.
Yeah. For sure. And I think Paul would agree there's like one or two on every course. Like, so I saw on my senior course, there was one guy that's coming straight to mind, and on my course for sure there was absolutely. And you just find that like you're spending so much time not necessarily worrying about what they're up to, but just making sure you know what they're up to, so they're not, you know, going to affect you and your safety and your team's safety and stuff. And it's just
I'd always say, you know, this came across really badly and it'll sound really badly, but I'd always say to people, and you got to understand the context it's given in, but my job was twofold, is to make guys that could be in this industry, and make sure the guys that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know, it's to make sure the guys that shouldn't be in this industry don't make it. That was the job. Now, that was nothing to do with whether I liked the person or not, but that was completely down to that exact thing is, what does this person think that they've signed up for? And to a man, when guys come through the course, what they thought they were going to do and what they ended up doing, totally different.
Yeah.
It changed with everyone. And there were some dudes that didn't make it past week 1, and that was the main reason. You know, does this dude value significance, or does this dude value growth and contribution? You know, that's what I was looking for with the real good dudes that come through. Yeah. There was always that thing where it's like, oh, Paulie just likes the good ones. It's like, nah. I love the pipe hitters. I love the dudes that are going to do anything. Skill is nothing to do with it. Skill's nothing to do with it, because, you know, it's like, you pop in a wind tunnel for 8 hours and there's your skill.
Yeah, exactly, man. I remember one of the very first things I remember you saying, man, was there's no stupid questions. So immediately you could just ask whatever. There were 3.
There were 3. Yeah.
When are we wingsuiting? When are we base jumping? When are we wingsuit base jumping?
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it was always from a position of, we all have stuff to learn. You guys know absolutely nothing. These senior guys know a lot more than what you do, but yeah, you're still in this little bubble.
4 months ago, or even 3 months ago,
Right.
they knew nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
And that was the thing, and that was really important for me to get that across as well. It is to keep that humbling, because, you know, you'd have seen this, you'd have experienced this from both sides of the spectrum. Is that when a new group checked in, how they thought they were dominating the world, because there was now a group, they were at the bottom of the totem pole, and now there's a group checked in that knew nothing. It's like, we know everything. I've got 100 jumps. I'm killing it. I've done the score.
Yeah, but it is, you know absolutely nothing. Like, why would you ever use rubber bands in skydiving? So we had this thing where, as a senior course, you'd play some pranks on the new guys coming in, right? And we would like pretend that you needed to glue broken rubber bands back together, because they just believe anything, right? Like literally anything, that you don't know anything about skydiving, so you're just assuming that everything anyone's saying is just gospel, right? But yeah, it's just completely.
And, you know, I started that, and if he's listening, big shout to my brother, Tim Schwass, down there in Queenstown. He was the first guy that bought into this. But I was basically, it was a great thing for the bonding of the group. It was a great thing for the bonding of the group. And we basically say that, yeah, you can glue these rubber bands back together. I come and I'd make this whole spiel. And it was so ridiculous that it was believable. You know, it was just so outlandish. It was preposterous that they would go upstairs and they'd glue these rubber bands together and they'd leave them in a fridge, because obviously that's going to set the glue. And then the senior group would then come in at nighttime, take these out and put new fixed rubber bands, like legitimate rubber bands, back in the fridge with bits of glue on, so it looked like they'd miraculously healed. And these guys were like, straight up, they believed it, and then they'd reveal it on the last day, and it was amazing. But you were the dude who were gluing rubber bands together. So no matter how much you think you know, you were the dude who glued rubber bands together. But what it did is it brought the group together as a group. It made that bond. It made those people strong. And it also segregated the two groups. And that's what I was trying to do in a very, very, very good way, in a way that would make that unit of people so tight. You know, and that's ultimately what we're trying to experience when we were doing that. You know, it was great times.
When I was 18, I did about 6 months of building work, and like building work wasn't really for me. I just wasn't really good at it. And I came in one morning, and there were 2 guys I was working with, John and Dave. And John says, "Oh, Dave, did you bring the long weights?" And he goes, "Nah." He goes, "Oh, I can't believe it. We've got no long weight. How are we going to get the job done today?" He goes, "Oh, Dan, you're going to have to go down to the shop and get the long weight, mate."
Down in the game for this. Ready?
So he sent me down to the hardware store. And I walked in, and I obviously knew the guy, like local bloke, and I said, "Hi, yeah, I've been sent down for a long wait." 60 minutes later, "Where's my long wait?" "Oh, you just had it, mate. An hour."
Because all you want to do is like, right, I just want to make this right now. I don't want to,
I came back,
on these guys.
You bastards. They're absolutely pissing themselves.
And it was that, the kind of preposterous level of believability. And dudes would believe it, it was just, but it was part of the bonding thing. This was part of the experience. It was all part of the experience. And they're the things that you remember. You remember that, and that's that. I'd always say, and this is, I'm ripping a direct quote off a multitude of, very great coaches, way better than me, but I'd always say that you guys would never ever remember what I taught you. So you'd never remember, oh, he taught me a slow fall like this or fast fall or track like that. The only thing you'd remember is how I made you feel. And that's what your role is as a coach. That's what you're trying to do, because what you're doing is you're controlling the most important thing. And this is what people don't understand, is the state of that person. If you can ask that person where they're from, if you can get to know them in that 5-minute walk to the aircraft and that 20-minute ride to altitude, if you can get to know that person, you are leveraging the most important tool that you have, which is the power of that person's state. You're trying to get them to buy into you and to understand that you're going into the harshest learning environment there is, and you are there with them. You know, and this is you've got to be humble to do that. And this is what we're trying to get with you guys is, look, we're going to play these pranks. I'm going to do these pranks and set this up, because realize that you're not God. Realize that when you're walking out to the aircraft and you got your parachute on, your badass jumpsuit and everything like that, realize that no one cares. No one cares. You know, don't believe your own BS. It's like you're one landing away from going home in a newspaper. So, you know, and that was the really, really important thing, is like, you be humble or be humbled, and it was the game. It was the game to do it in. So you spent your time at the school, and just to kind of rewind a little bit, in terms of anyone skydiving is going to listen, you had the golden ticket because you were born in the US.
Yeah, I was born in Delaware, if anyone knows where that is.
Represent Delaware. And so you had a US passport. The level of jealousy from the rest of the people in his group and on the course, if someone had a US passport, because it's kind of like the mecca for skydiving, you know, and he could get in there legally. So you went to San Diego, California for your 3-month internship.
Oceanside, but yeah.
Oceanside.
Yeah. For my internship, yeah. That was an experience for sure, man. That was a trip.
So I spent a season in the States in it's cracking on 10 years now. I spent a season in the States in 2011, and when I checked in there, and I'd heard all the stories, but it was literally dudes walking around, you know, on the drop zone with 6 shooters on each hip. You know, I mean, it was the Wild West. It was insane. The level of non-safety, the level of non-GFO in this thing was just like, dudes were out the gate.
I remember one of the first stories you told me about the States is that guys would have their rigs on and their jumpsuits and their helmet on, and they would all pile into a van, and then they'd roll out of the van, smoke pouring out like Cheech and Chong, bro. They're all just high as fuck.
Check.
And yeah, California can confirm. Absolutely 100% that is the case.
Yeah, and you know, I got into this place, and I was really thinking about in the first 3 or 4 days just checking out. I was thinking I'm just gonna leave. This is not for me. And then I kind of realized right, what's the role that I'm in on this, and can I affect change on this? And you know, so there's kind of group of people that were hungry to learn as instructors, and it was like, well, you know, you can actually do some good here. And we ended up doing some, you know, really, really good stuff out there. And you know, there's a story that I told you that I'd tell every course, and you'll probably remember this within the first week, but I'd always start that, you know, that ground training, and I'd hit a story of a fatality. And it was a girl that we saw in the US, and you know, it's a horrible story, but me and my brother-in-law were over there at the time, and you know, we were chatting with this girl in the drop zone, and she was only young. She was probably about, I think she was 18, and she was telling us, oh, you know, I test jump this and I do that and everything like that. And I said, all right, cool. And you know, you think, you know, she must have started skydiving like crazy young. She must have been, you know. And then, all right, cool. How many jumps she got? She got 100 jumps. And so it's instant red flag. Yeah. So this red flag goes off. It's like, wow, this is literally now Disney World for this chick. She's no idea how this thing's going to go down. And 2 days later, she turned a parachute at an altitude that was, you know, too low to survive, and she impacted the ground right in front of my brother-in-law. And I was just above her under canopy, and I landed next to her. And the kind of harrowing thing with this is, you know, she didn't die straight away, but the two of us were the first on scene, and when we got there, she knew she was going to die. And this 18-year-old girl who literally 20 seconds before, this was the greatest thing that she'd ever done, and nothing can ever go wrong. And you're looking in her eyes, and she's crying and begging for you to take it away.
Yeah, we'll do anything for it.
Anything. And it wasn't her fault. It wasn't her fault, and that's why. And I was chatting with another ex-student the other day.
Even in that last moment, till the end, bro, they're just holding on to that lack of responsibility.
Yeah, but then, this genuinely, it wasn't when we look back at everything, it wasn't her fault. And I had this conversation with one of my bros the other day. It had never been highlighted to her what she was doing. The level of risk reward in this had never been highlighted, and I don't want to say the dangers because it's not dangerous, it's unforgiving.
Yeah.
But the way that she'd been trained was just rainbows and unicorns, and this is amazing, and this is that, and that level of ownership that she should take of that had never been imparted on her. It had never been shown to her that this is the real deal now, what we're doing now. Like, you make a mistake on this, it ain't like losing your car keys. You make a mistake on this, and then it's done. It's game over. Yeah. And this 18-year-old girl who was just consumed by skill. You know what it's like at the start? It consumes you. This whole thing just, it overcomes everything. It's just completely addictive because of the 6 human needs. You meet 3 of them, it's an addiction. Skydiving meets all 6. So, it's just, it's more addictive than heroin. And the problem is, there's a naivety that surrounds it, and this is what I'd always try and explain to you guys at the start, is that I have no emotion when it comes to skydiving. I'd say that to you. I'm not over it. I love what I do, but I don't love it because I jump out of an aircraft. I love it because I get to affect change on a level that is, to a point profound. Is like the level that we're doing with guys like you that come through, and all the rest of the dudes that that come through, is we get into to turn you into top-end performers and top-end professionals and dudes that, what were you going to do before that? What would you be doing now? Cruising around with the bros, Oh
my God, dude. I've actually thought about that a lot, and yeah, shout out to the bros. But when I came back for a little holiday from the States, I kind of realized everything that I'd left behind and how none of it had changed. And it was exactly how I left it. All the bros in the same position, still wondering what they're going to do with their life, still fucking around doing the same stuff. Yeah.
And it's a reality check, and it's a reality check if you can look at it like that, and if you can detach from what this actually is, and you can say, what I'm doing, I'm performing at a high level. Like the margin for error in this is non-existent, and I'm able to do that on a daily basis because of the work that I'm putting in, because the ownership I take about it, because the responsibility I've got of it, because the accountability that I've got for what I'm doing, and I'm thinking of everything. This is why I said to you guys so early is, if you get into AFF instruction, the reason that I stopped doing tandems and took a massive hit salary-wise, pay-wise, because you know what tandems are like, to just do AFF instruction, is because you had to be on top of your game every single time. And I think that is what's missing with so many things now, is like people will choose the easy ride, the comfortable ride. And even if you're doing something where there isn't a big margin for error, if you're doing something that is a risky thing, people fall into this complacency of, well, it's never happened, so it'll never happen.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever happened before. And, if you can kind of link that to modern times, is look at, we look at CrossFit, Dan, and we say, like, 4 weeks before this COVID thing, who knew that everything was going to be online? Like, every single CrossFit box around the world that was, why would you even think about training people online? That thing hits, bang. And that's put me into the, obviously, the lockdown thing changed what we're doing immensely, but it's put me into that state to be thinking of, like, where's the next thing coming from? And I'd say to you guys, when everything's right, everything's right. The problem is, everything's right.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like, where are you going to go next? What's your ability to pivot? What's your ability to make change now? And if the thing that you're doing doesn't define you, if that, it's a vehicle. The skydiving allows you to perform at a super high level, and it allows you to, positively affect people on a daily basis, these customers that you interact with on a daily basis. And it's a great thing to do. But I'd say this is the best people, if you took them out of that, they would perform at whatever you put them in. You could take them out of this, you could put them into business, you could put them into anything, and they will perform at that because it's the high level that they're doing. It's the stuff that they care about. It's a connection with other people. It's a personal growth. It's a growth of the team. It's a contribution to something bigger than them. It's not because jumping out of a plane, you're all radical, extreme.
100%. Yep.
And they're the people that I wanted. I didn't want the people that were good skydivers. I wanted the people that were going to do that. They're the pipe hitters.
Yeah. and just that staying ready thing, like you said, like when everything's right, like that's almost when I'm most switched on, because I know I have to be missing something, bro. It's impossible that I know everything that's happening right now, and there just has to be something missing that I'm not paying attention to, whether it's...
Look, we stayed in contact. So just to give some idea, you then left Oceanside and you went over to Las Vegas.
Yep.
To work out there, and relatively early in your career, what did you see out there?
Well, there was a couple things, man. There was a couple incidents. The first one, actually, one of my homies back here went in, and so that kind of changed my mindset a little bit. Well, made me think about everything. Think about whether it's something I wanted to do. Think about all those things that run through your head.
Just to give some idea, when you talk about going in, we talk about a fatality there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I realized there was probably a week period of I was acting on fear, making decisions based off fear. It became real, man. It, like, once that happened, it's like, yeah, now I'm in it. Like Paul always said, that it wasn't if it's gonna happen. It's like, if you're in it long enough, it's gonna happen. You're gonna see it. It's gonna be real. And it hit home, man, because it was the homie. And yeah, those decisions, I realized that those decisions that I was making based off fear was making the situation worse for me. Like, it was... Yeah.
Because you're acting emotionally, because you're reacting to a situation.
Yeah.
As opposed to what's actually happening, it's what you think's happening. They're two very, very different things. Two very different things.
100%. And yeah, like I said, this was particularly with flying a parachute, and I was just making decisions that were, making me not land where I wanted to land and those kind of things. And it was becoming more unsafe that I was acting under fear rather than just being decisive. So I realized I had to make a choice. Either this isn't for me anymore, or kind of gotta wipe your mouth and move on.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that we say to people all the time when it comes to CrossFit. And this is our idea: is just stop living in the past. Like you are whining and you are complaining, you are moaning about something, which is fine, but no one want to listen to it.
Yeah.
And that's that internal voice that you have with you as well. It's that party that wants to sandbag, the party that wants to indulge doubt and fear and quit, and the party that is capable of amazing things. And you've got to decide which side of the fence you're on. But once you decide, you get in that camp and stay in that camp, because no one cares. Being one or the other, that's fine. But don't bitch about being in the wrong one.
On the fence was not a good option, man.
Negative.
Definitely not a good option. But it's always room for growth when shit like that happens, man. Like, after that point, I made active decisions on the daily to seek out more advice. There was plenty of dudes with heaps of experience that I was working with, and yeah, just hitting them up on the reg for advice, how I can improve, how I can be more safe, how I can be more decisive, all these things.
And if you come at those guys and you've got a good relationship with those guys, and you come at those guys as humble and wanting to learn, that advice is there to you can eke it out of them. They love it.
Dude, that's that alpha male complex of skydiving, though. They absolutely, they want to dish that out.
But you have to pick the right people. That. You ask the dude who's got the brightest coloured suit, and you know what I'm saying, that typical dude. It's like the information that you're getting is going to be out the gate.
It's just whatever their way is the way that you have to do it. Yeah, they're the ones that are for sure. They're the ones that aren't open to there being other ways of doing something. Like, it's literally their way or the highway with whatever it is. And it's there's a million ways to skin a cat with this kind of thing.
Check completely.
Yeah.
Head to tail, tail to head, and or feet first. But we kind of said about this with the kids the other day. I said this to my boys all the time. Is like, you got to decide on the outcome that you want. So if they're having a battle, and the battle is that they're trying to beat each other, it's like, right, what's the outcome that you're trying to get out of this now? Do you just want to beat your brother, or do you want this particular result? You've got to decide what it is that you're going to want on this. And so many people, and in something as polarizing as skydiving, so many people, double stow, single stow, but so many people just will be in a camp and be unwilling to move on that camp. Yeah. And it's so dangerous. And if you can pick up the people that are willing to move, that are willing to pivot, that have this latitude in their way of thinking, it gives you so much more, because you're not just taking on what they know, but you're taking on the ability to know more. That's what you're taking on, is you're learning from them of how to learn. I wasn't teaching you guys things, I was teaching you how to learn.
Yep. The best guys I've ever seen almost refuse to tell you how many jumps they have, because it doesn't matter. And they're always the guys that are open to someone way below the totem pole, like giving them a new way of figuring out how to do something with whatever it is, the tiniest little detail. But yeah, they're absolutely never just set in stone of this is how to do it. This is the way. This is the only way. But they're always like, well, you could do this way because of this or this way because of that. But it's more fluid than just being locked in.
That being said, is I'm sure, and I was the same with this, is that they'll say, look, I do it this way, and I'm unwilling to move on that until someone shows me a more efficient, more effective, a safer way.
Yep.
And it is that, this was that kind of trifecta that I get across to you guys all the time, is that efficiency, effectiveness, and safety. And once you go bigger in one side of things, you lose in the other side of things. It's trying to get that three-way split, that balance is, yes, you can be highly effective, but you're probably not efficient, and you're definitely not safe.
Oh, yeah.
You can be so safe that you become ineffective, you become inefficient. So it's where are you willing to give in that kind of thing?
That's huge with turning loads.
Yeah.
Packing your parachute, man. When
Yeah.
like I can pack a parachute in probably 3.5 minutes if I want to, but it's gonna hurt when it opens.
Check.
And yeah, it's
And you
that
may need
compromise.
to do that. You may need to do that once every fill in the blank. That you have the ability to do that, but are you reliant on that all the time? And that's the whole idea, is identify what needs doing at a particular point for that situation. And the people that will apply the same tool to so many different situations are the people that are ultimately going to lose. They're not going to get out of it what they business situation for sure. People that are just going to do the same thing all the time because it's what they've always done. And you get into that safety zone, you get into that comfort zone where it's like, you know what? The more I dig in on this, the less I know about anything else, and I don't want to be challenged. This is why I found it very, very difficult when guys had applied for the course plus 30.
Right, because it's so locked in their mindset. Yep.
So locked in. And they'd had, the problem is as well, is you get an absolute pipe hitter on a course who's kind of 18, 19 years old, and you get a guy who could be very good who's 30. But it's more likely that the past decade, every kid, every 18, 19-year-old that he's dealt with has been in a subordinate capacity. He's probably had some type of management position on them or whatever it is, I'd have a few guys transition over from IT and that kind of thing. So, they've been at the top of the food chain all the time. And then suddenly they're in an environment where there's an 18-year-old kicking their ass. That's we talked about fish oil on the last one, bro. That's like 10 fish oil tablets you're trying to swallow down in like snake mouth neck territory.
It crushes the ego.
It crushes the ego, which is fine if you're willing to accept it. And some people wouldn't. They'd just fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. Just kind of go back to when the bro had the fatality, and I was around for that situation, and there's a big effect within the group, and me and Dan are big on this and finding the good in every situation. What is it that you can? There's something you can take. There's a learning opportunity. There's a teaching opportunity every single time, and the most important thing for me when that went down was the group. The people that saw the situation and that hit them, like it hit them hard.
Yeah,
I got to a point where I was pretty desensitized to that kind of thing because of what I'd seen and because of the time and because of the way I'd look at it. And this is a really good thing why you're here on this, because I think you'll fully appreciate this. But the message that I was just unwavering with the group and the people that saw it and so on and so forth was realize what you're doing. Realize what you do is a privilege, and when you are 30 pack jobs deep or 50 pack jobs deep in a 100 pack job day, when you're 20 jumps deep of a 25 jump day and you're hungry and you're sweating and you've got to talk to the customer and you've got to change the SD cards in your camera or you've got to pack your own rig or whatever it is like that. Yep. He never gets to do that. He never ever gets to do that. So what you're going to whine about and what you're going to bitch about, he will never, ever get that opportunity. And that was the message, is like, if you're going to take the good out of this, realize what you're doing. Before you get complacent, before you sit on it, before you get your big, fat tandem paycheck, before you do any of that kind of stuff, realize that there's a dude who wants to, and he give anything, and he gave everything because he wanted to. Yep. And now he can't. And that was the message to get to these guys, is like, if you want to honor this dude, Don't go hitting the beers. Don't start drinking this and drinking that, saying this is what he wanted. Don't make that naive statement of saying, well, at least he died doing what he loved.
Yeah, I hate that one.
Because he trade places straight away. If you could rewind that 10 seconds and say, you can stop now, and all your skydiving memories will get wiped, and you'll never ever jump again, but you'll walk away, take it or not. I cannot tell you anyone that would say, nah, I'll be good. Nah.
I'll just happily smash into the ground. Yeah. Nah. It's incredible how easy it is to do, though, man. Once you start getting tired, like that voice in your head, bro, it starts getting louder and louder,
Yep.
more manipulative,
Yep.
and it finds ways just to get angry or shitty about whatever the situation is. That thing of, it's, yeah, like you said, the 14th jump of the day, and someone says something a little snarky, and you just snap at them, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, we're still jumping out of planes, bro. We're still doing what we want to do.
Still doing what we're doing. And that customer that you got strapped to the front of you, that's their first time they're doing it. This might be your 20th for the day. This might be your 90th for the month. And it might be your 10,000th for the career. It's their first time and they're going to remember you. And when guys are checking, I'd say, have you done a tandem before? And they say, yeah, I've done 2 or 3. Cool, where did you do them? Where was the best place? And the best place wasn't the place with the great views and the mountains and the lake. It was the dude they went with, because the dude they went with cared.
100%.
And they always remembered the assholes. They always remember the dudes that were like, I went with this guy, dude, and talk to me.
Yep.
It was the relationships. It's a relationships all the time. And that was a really, really big thing. And to try and find the good in something as devastating as a fatality. And when you see them in skydiving, it's so visceral. It's harrowing because of the way it goes down. And to get across to these dudes that, look, this is what you signed up for. You knew you signed up for this. Now you get it.
Yeah. There's knowing it, and then there's knowing it, you know? Like, seeing it, bro, changes, like, everything, bro. Like, I haven't seen a fatality myself. I've seen some people smack the ground pretty hard, and it's unbelievable. It's
gut-wrenching, eh?
It's, honest to God, man, when I saw the tandem one that I saw, I didn't think you could hit the ground that hard if you fell straight out of the plane, never opened a parachute. I didn't think you'd hit the ground that hard, you know?
And you know why you didn't think it? Because you didn't want to think it.
Right.
You didn't want to think it. And, you know, this was on a TV show, and they'd done an interview on the TV show, and we were talking about the accident that my brother-in-law had. And I've seen a lot of stuff in skydiving. This was the worst moment of my life. And, we were both brand new. We were less than 12 months in. We were just you know what it's like, you're chasing so hard, you're trying to crush everything.
It's the start of another life,
It's
man.
the start of another life, and you're just killing it. And he's on a hospital bed, and all he's asking is, when can I skydive again? When can I skydive again? And the nurse, it's just like, I feel it to my bones, and the nurse just walked past, and you know, she said, you're probably not going to walk again. Like, the look in his eye, and it makes you question, like, you know, do I want to do this? You know, it makes you question everything. But you've got to decide what side of the fence you're on. You've got to decide what camp you're in. You know, we've got a thing that we've put up on the wall in the new box, and it's targeted primarily at the teens, because I think it's a great age to start. But it just says, find a reason to win. And a lot of people will come in, and that can be a really misjudged thing in CrossFit for a lot of people, because like, oh, find a reason to be the best in the workout or anything like that. It's nothing to do with that. It's like, you've got to decide where the win is. And the win is, are you going to indulge the part of you that wants to quit, that wants the sandbag, that sees 10 seconds left on the clock, and there's no reason to run through that 10 seconds, but you still run through that 10 seconds. Find a reason to win every single day in every single thing that you do. Like, be better than that opportunity dictates.
Yeah, then that voice in your head, bro.
That voice in your head that says, press the snooze button,
Yep.
that says, don't do this, that says, sit and watch Netflix. These were the people like you, like a list of people that we're thinking of, the exact same dudes that came through the course that were just crushing life.
Yep.
Because it's a choice.
And it's just it really is. It's all up to you. The battle is just between you and yourself, man. There is no one else. When it comes down to it, man, when I'm flying a parachute, it's just me sitting in the harness. There's no one else around me. It's just me and the decisions that I'm about to make and the impact that it's going to have on me. And yeah, that's really all there is.
And that's what we were trying to teach with you guys at the start, is come to terms with your environment, because your environment controls your state. Your state controls your decisions control your outcome. If you want to control the outcome, come to terms with your environment and realize how powerful your environment is, but more importantly, how powerful your decisions are in making that environment no factor.
Yep.
The place that was just crazy in the first jump, what is it like now? You never want to leave. It's just it's where you work, it's where you do your business.
Yep.
You know, it's a pleasure to be there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we're trying to get across to people in CrossFit now is like, it's a decision. Every single thing that you do is a decision. You have control of that.
Even when it's as messed up as it could ever be, like you're spinning under that parachute and you just look up at it and you laugh because it's like, it's whatever, dude. It's the same. It's the same as that first time.
And that ability to laugh is that ability to back yourself, is that ability to say, bring it.
Yeah.
Like, do your worst, do the worst possible thing you can do. And I'm going to crush you. I'm going to dominate this situation completely. And it's putting it on that terms. That's that aggression that you've got to have. But the aggression is not towards other people. The aggression is not walking around kicking doors in. The aggression is making things happen. Making things happen. I was chatting with a guy the other day, and just in terms of like not reacting to a situation, letting a situation evolve, but doing so aggressively in the sense that if you're going to let this situation evolve and see what happens, do it on your terms. Like, make that happen. It's not making a decision. You know, people say sometimes the best decision is no decision. It's wrong to say that. The best decision is, like, if you want to see this situation evolve and give it time, then make that happen. Don't be indifferent. Don't be like, don't be indifferent. It's like, I'm going to see how this plays out, or I'm going to act now. But either way, you're acting, and that's that aggression that you're trying to bring forward all the time. Yeah. So you're obviously back in NZ now. What does the next kind of month look like for you?
Well, in about 2 weeks, I'm going to be heading back to the belly of the beast, United States. Back to work, back to action. And then
They've got things measured out there when it comes to where this COVID situation is and everything like that, or they're operating?
They're operating, yeah.
And how do you feel about going back into that?
It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one for sure, man. It feels like an easy decision, honestly, because it's my dream, man. It's what I want to do. Yeah. But
you can say all that it biases as well, though. You can say how you're looking at something so good and say, you know what, this world pandemic, no factor, because of what you're going to do.
Absolutely. And honestly, when I think about it, man, the only doubt that comes into it is all the external voices. It's like your parents saying, is it safe for you to go back? It's the news. It's all this external stuff. And like, I got to decide for me whether it's the thing. Yeah. And I think I'm willing to put up with that, whatever it is.
And one of our bros has just gone back there, and he's doing good up there as well.
Yeah,
he marked my official retirement by buying my. I've got no longer own a parachute system, so I'm completely officially out of the game.
Stoked for him.
Look, I think that's a good place to kind of call it. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, as these conversations have gone over the past few years that we've always had. But it's just good to get one down now in the can, and good luck with everything that you're going to do.
Thank you, brother.
This is obviously not the last time that we're going to chat, but, crush things over there in the States and so on and so forth. Anything from you, Dan? Good. Socially, if you want to connect, the altitudeleader.co.nz, you can get us on Instagram, Facebook, at the Altitude Leader, Twitter, Altitude Leader, not the Altitude Leader. But other than that, once again, thank you very much. That's a wrap.